box passing, hip checking, ankle breaking from way downtown by a nose thumb sticking show you need to know. Welcome to the pregame.
All right, thanks for joining us for the Pregame's 2015 Madden Special. Pregame is the official podcast of Boxscore, where sports are always at the tip of your fingers. It's Monday, August 17th, 2015. I'm your host, Colin Perkins, here along with your color commentator, Mr. Philip Stella.
Hey, everybody. What's going on?
And this week we are joined by our Madden expert, Mr. James Dawolo.
What's up, Boxscore? What's up, Pregame?
How's it going, Jim?
Yeah, James, good to have you with us, man. The Pregame is a seasonal podcast dedicated to sports gaming, and we've finally made it to Madden season. If you're not part of Boxscore, please check us out on boxscoregaming.com or join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Boxscore to connect with other sports gamers. As I mentioned, this is our Madden special. We're finally hit the fall. We got our sports blitz really hitting here. So we actually have a bunch of shows coming up for you. We're talking a little hockey here pretty soon. We got a soccer special for you. We got NBA. There is a skating, Tony Hawk's coming out, so we might talk a little Tony Hawk at some point. And then, of course, wrestling, WWE comes out in October. So we got a lot going on. Before we dive into the rest of the show, let's take a couple of minutes to see what's up with our panel. Phil, what have you been playing lately?
I've been playing a little bit of FIFA 15 still grinding away at that game. Love it. Good time. I also started playing Madden 15 once again. You know, we are getting into Madden season, hence the show. And just throwing the old pigskin around, seeing what's up.
Nice. James, what have you been playing these days?
Man, lots of Madden 15 in effect. I'll go over some stuff later because there are some rewards to playing Madden 15 and keeping up with MUT. You can win some rewards for Madden 16. And also we've restarted, we've kind of breathed new life into the Xbox 360 and playing NCAA 14. Operation Sports is put out.
Man. That's right.
Yeah, Operation Sports has some recent updated rosters, and I picked it up. And I'm playing in a couple leagues now. I've got Northwestern in one, and then picking up LSU in another. Northwestern's doing really bad. The first two were terrible.
That's how you lost the first two.
Yeah, we're on the rise though. And then the other, the other game. Trying to pick up some hockey. I haven't done much with it lately, but I want to get geared up for the next edition of hockey. So that's where I'm at.
Nice, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. We got a long history playing that game together, so looking forward to starting something with you.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I bought Super Mega Baseball now that I made it to the Xbox One and played a couple of games of that. I'm really enjoying it. Say what you want about the kind of the cartoony, the aesthetic to it, but the gameplay, the mechanics of the game are pretty solid and pretty fun. So I'm enjoying that. Playing a little Forza Horizon 2 also. I just get the itch every once in a while. That game's so good, and I just haven't spent enough time with it. So good. So I'll fire that up every once in a while. Still do some trials from time to time. If I got 15 minutes, something like that, I'll hop in a couple races. What else? And then, as James mentioned, I'm in the NCAA team, the online dynasty with him. So I grabbed the Gophers. We're 1-0 so far. I need to play my next game. And then Madden 15. So I just tried to salvage the Vikings, but I couldn't do it. They had been getting beat up. We had an owner that was the Bears and an owner that was the Packers for 2 seasons, and I finally jumped in, and their confidence, they'd been beaten up so bad, I just couldn't do it. And I'm rusty on Madden too, so no excuses. But I'm looking forward to 16. That's for sure. That's what we'll be talking about today. So,
right.
Before we dive in a little more, why don't we talk about some of the headlines? So a couple of things that have been coming through the news lately. The big one is Patrick Kane has been removed from NHL 16 cover. Big conspiracy. Won't go into much detail, but it's that's some real life stuff, and there's real life repercussions. So I don't blame EA for distancing themselves from him at all. So
Yeah, bad press. You got to get out of there.
Yep,
Can't be
yep,
doing that.
yep. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I know that they've done things like this in the past. So it just
Mhm.
this sort of things, that's kind of what happens when you're a high-profile person, and you make mistakes and there's consequences. So. What else we got? Oh, one of the other things I found that was interesting was that there's so NBA Live. So we'll be talking about basketball here pretty soon. NBA Live 16. There's no player or roster editing in the entire game. That seems backwards, doesn't it? I mean, I'm confused by that news.
Yeah, that is taking a step back, right? I mean, is there when you say no players, that just no current players, so there's still going to be create a player editing, but not beyond
I
that.
didn't read that, but it looks like yeah. So for the current rosters that they release, you can't modify them all, which seems like a pretty. I mean, that's a pretty normal thing. I mean, I think they actually did take that away from NHL last year, but I thought it was in NBA Live, but I could be wrong. So that's a little
So I
disappointing.
can give Kobe his afro back. I can't do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people have a lot of fun going in and customizing and
Hmm.
doing that sort of thing. So I don't know. We'll see how that turns out. Another big headline: Rocket League has 5 million downloads between PS4 and PC. That news dropped a little while ago, but we haven't aired for a bit. But so I'm sure it's more than 5 million now. But that game's a ton of fun. If you haven't checked that out, please do. The last bit of news I wanted to cover is that EA Access. We're all Xbox One owners on the show. We all have EA Access, and it looks like it's going to stick on Xbox One. There's an article released. Looks like GameSpot interviewed Peter Moore, COO of EA, and he kind of had no comment about whether or not EA Access was coming over to PlayStation. So that's too bad for PlayStation owners. It's a great service. We love it, and yeah. All right, moving on. So every week we do a poll for our group Boxscore in Facebook, and this week we ask: as major sports games continue to be annualized, what types of changes do you want for the latest version of your favorite sports game? So we got a little banter back and forth. Mr. Ryan Hahn, who always chimes in when we have these sorts of questions. Actually, a lot of things that he said we're going to be covering today. So he wants a lot of that kind of that crowd noise and that customization, that crowd interaction with the game. He's looking for that sort of thing on a year-to-year basis. He's looking for connected franchise enhancements, which I'm going to be talking about later on. So yeah, those are some of the big things that came up. Over on podcast, we're also part of Podcast Unlocked on Facebook. Some good sports gamers in there, and they typically chime in. Cameron Peck talks about kind of getting rid of all those legacy changes or issues that just kind of creep through in each iteration, trying to clean all that sort of stuff up, which I think is a good point. What else? Rich Herminghaus, he talks about the realism on the field realism, iterating the AI. And making it so that it just feels like you're actually playing football rather than making all those. Typically, when you play a video game, you're like, oh well, it's just a video game. That's why that happened. I think we're at the point now where they can code and develop these games so that they're as real as they should be now. So. Yeah, a lot of good banter going back and forth. So if you aren't part of Boxscore, please join us when you can. All right.
Do it now.
Right. One more update. So got a quick pay up update. Phil and I, throughout the year, we stream a sports game, and we keep a running tally so that the person that's behind in the standings gets to pick the game. So Phil was behind, and he
Phil's never not been behind.
and he chose a little FIFA 15. So Phil, why don't you take us through that real quick?
Well, it was a sunny day, and it was a good game. It was fun. It was a fun game, and I believe we've played 2 other times before this stream, Colin.
Yep.
And and I beat you. And now the scores I think were only like 1-0 each time. But
They were tight. Yeah, they were tight.
I handled you pretty good there. I mean, it wasn't.
No, it was. I was scrambling. I was always coming from behind in those games, trying to tie it up, trying to win.
Yeah, no, it was. It was good. It was a great game. Colin ended up winning. He had Dempsey, and Dempsey was. We were both. I should.
You had Dempsey as well. We were both USA.
We were both Team USA here. We were both the U.S. men's national team, and I don't know. Colin Dempsey was on fire that night, man. He was hitting some trick shots. He was nasty. Colin beat me 3-2. I had a chance there with basically no time left with Altidore, who got the ball after an attempted tackle, and all I could do was he was stumbling, so all I had to do was try and shoot the ball, and his goalie saved it. So
Timmy Howard came up big there at the end. That was good though.
Yeah.
You made a good run back. So final tally 3-2. And so I got a 2-0 lead now. So we got to see what happens here. We're going to be playing through the rest of the year, and we still haven't figured out our bet, so we still got to figure that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been a lot of fun. So we post those videos on our YouTube channel, on our Boxscore YouTube channel, and in the group. So please check that out when you get a chance. There. All right. Now we got through the whole top of the show. Now let's start talking about some
football time.
Right. Let's start talking about some football. So before we dive into Madden, I do want to mention, so there's a couple other football games out there. Madden's pretty much all we have there. Although this year on PC, Axis Football came out. It's very early. I mean, it's the first iteration of this game, first of all, and it's from just a handful of guys that are trying to put out another football product out there. So if you see it, if you pick it up, don't expect a ton, but they're trying. So I did pick it up it was pretty cheap on Steam at the time, and it's pretty basic, so just be prepared for that. But if you want to support some other guys trying to throw another football product out there, I would say grab it. And then also I should mention it's Blood Bowl 2 is out September 22nd, and I didn't play Blood Bowl 1. Did you? Did either of you guys play Blood Bowl before?
I have not, no.
So it's like a fantasy based. It's football kind of, So it's like fantasy based.
RPG.
Playing football, but it's like turn based. It looks it's not what we would want as football fans, but it looks like it could be fun if you're kind of into both fantasy stuff and football. So anyway, that's those two football products are also available. So let's start talking about Madden 16. Finally here, we got our EA Sports EA Access trial, 10-hour trial here on Thursday. So all of us are hopefully going to be diving into that and soaking up those 10 hours as quickly as possible. Why don't we start with James? So James, when you've been playing football, you don't only play football, you coach football, and you've been playing Madden for years. What do you think about? What's your experience? What's your favorite thing about playing Madden over the years?
Oh my gosh, Madden! I mean, so much fun. A couple of things stick out for me. One positive, really positive, is when Madden went over to, I guess, the first new generation console. They went over to 64. So you guys remember Madden 64?
Oh yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
When Madden 64 burst on the scene, I was like, wow, the players look different. And it might sound silly, but the thing I noticed most was like, man, their shadows look like they are like, maybe could be realistic. They have actual shadows that match a dark circle behind their body. So now they have a shadow. And I thought that was cool. I mean, sounds silly, but it's cool. Plus, the gameplay was really, really user-friendly at times. But, Madden has had its hiccups along the way, and I'm sure you can go to your settings and remove them. But, like, everybody remembers the vision cone.
Oh,
Madden 06.
Vision cone. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a tackling cone that exists now.
That's
you can just turn it off in the settings. You can turn it off and on in the settings. So, yeah, Madden's come a very long way. It's had, its ups and downs with some of the settings, but, man, when they went to that 64, Madden 64, the new generation, that's what really got me hooked into it.
Nice. Phil, what about you? When you think of Madden, what do you think?
Madden NFL 2K5. No.
Wait a minute.
That was a shot there. I'm sorry. No, I don't know. I believe, and you know what? I couldn't tell you what year it was, but it was it was the first Madden I owned on the 360. I really had never. I had the game for a while, and I actually had. I never was a social gamer with sports games.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first game I actually went on there and tried, and did the online thing, and I had a ball. I had a blast. It was so fun. Once I got good enough to actually compete, it was great. The 12-year-olds talking junk in my ear, that hurt a little bit, but it happens. No, but the social aspect that now comes with like James said, the next generation of games, there's so much more you can do. So with that, like you guys are in the franchise, the connected franchise online, it's great. It's great. You can do all that stuff with your friends, and that's really cool.
So I think of I played Madden a ton early on, and then took a break and played like all NCAA for a good 5 years. So now that NCAA was not around anymore, I'm back on the Madden. When I think of Madden, I actually think of John Madden in the game. Remember all the commentary that
Yes.
the recycled commentary that just got, oh my God, are you kidding
Pat
me?
Summerall.
Pat Summerall is in it.
Summerall, man.
Sounded like a frog.
He was drunk the whole time he recorded.
And so I think about the old school stuff too, kind of like it's you, James. Remember when you used to be able to? It was one of the first games. Is you could take your defender and like go into the offensive team's huddle and just like mess them up.
Yeah.
You just go in there.
I remember that.
Oh, I love that stuff, man. That's so good. I mean, it's amazing how far they've come, and it's no wonder that they've made so much progress. But I love thinking about those early days and all the little quirks and everything that you can get away with. That was good times. So, but now we are in 2015 talking about Madden 16, and the three of us are gonna bring you kind of everything they got going, and we've been digging into all the news that they've released, gameplay videos, everything, and there's actually a lot of changes that they're making this year. It should be quite the different experience, hopefully upgrade from Madden 15. So Phil's going to kick us off with presentation enhancements, changes, what have you. Phil, what did you uncover from presentation side?
Well, first I wanted to say that I wanted to actually ask you guys a question.
Sure.
With Madden 16, is this the first current gen only Madden, or are they still making this for 360 and PS3? I'm kind of embarrassed that I do not know that question.
I think they're going to keep making it for the older, for 360. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think they typically. I know they are for hockey, so I would imagine they're doing it for Madden as well. They typically kind of drag those old consoles around for a couple years.
Yeah.
Sports are usually the last ones to move over.
I understand it, but it's quite unfortunate when you come from a perspective of what you can do with this presentation and what you can do with the game itself. Just like Madden 15, when it came to the Xbox One, there is a lot of upgrades that they're doing to 16 as well. I'm just going to kind of go through these and kind of give you a brief summary of what it is. If you guys want to chime in along the way, feel free. If anything that you're looking forward to, feel free to yell out a hurrah during the show. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is the on-the-field cameras. These cameras are going to they're going to be in proximity of the players during the biggest moments, so touchdown, sacks. They're even going to capture if two players are actually jawing back and forth at each other during or after a play.
So before you keep going, I feel like they typically have to censor a lot of that stuff. Just because of the agreement, the NFL license agreement, because the NFL has to approve everything that goes into the game, so they typically have to scale some of that stuff back.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're going to have like a mic'd up situation or anything like that, or if it's just kind of be that visual that you get in between plays or whatever.
I think it's good though. I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see those animations after the play. Give me a reason not to skip this. You know what I mean? And I understand if you're in a hurry and trying to get the game underway, but I love that when they add those new animations and then those new celebrations and things like that, which we'll get to in a little bit, it adds to the immersion to the game, adds to the realism that goes along with the physics engines and things like that. So,
Absolutely.
then they're going to do another thing with cameras. They're going to do the wire cam, which is really cool because it just flies around like a normal broadcast. But being that this is a video game in NFL 6 or Madden NFL 16, the wire cam can actually track the action right next to the QB before the ball is snapped. It can give you sweeping shots during a pass play or circling a quarterback before he gets sacked. So that's a really cool feature there. And then they're going to do some things with monoliths. Basically, the augmented UI, when you see those stats and things pop up on the side,
Oh yeah,
not going to
yeah.
block players anymore. So
Oh,
it's
nice.
almost the players are going to almost go around the 3D models. That those things pop
Oh,
up.
I
It's
got
kind
you.
of
That'll be
annoying. Yeah, it's gonna kind of integrate with the game, but not get in the way of it. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Like how they throw graphics on the field type thing when
Right.
you're watching a game. Yeah, that'll be
Right,
cool.
exactly. Yeah. So instant stats and feedback are around the players on the field. So you guys, us as players will be able to easily see which milestone that you've achieved, an accomplishment with a specific player. So and again, that's going to also happen without the distracting pop-ups that come up. So that should be pretty integrated with the world. Speaking of the world, and Ryan with his, answers to your question, the poll question, living worlds are getting brought to Madden 16, which is my favorite thing about this whole.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, the presentation is really cool. There's a lot of emphasis towards improving the crowds, thank God, because they're horrible. And crowd props too. I'm sorry?
Did it say anything about? So one thing that's always bugged me about Madden is the players on the bench are just this shell, but they show them all the time, right? It's just like
Yes.
this weird little like sprite or like no name person that's just there, just stiff. They're just like.
So they are doing something with that. So the players on the sidelines will have a lot more animations and reactions to things that actually go on the field.
Nice.
So yeah, they should integrate that along with the crowds in being excited or being, if the team's doing badly, they're going to be sitting down with their heads hung low. So it's really cool though, but they're doing these crowd props, right? And those props are going to be specific to, if you're at Heinz Field, you're going to have the terrible towel. Seattle's going to have their towels, things like that. So
That's
depending on what team you are, if they have a specific thing, they're going to include that.
The Vikings
all the
will be
fans
blowing
will
the
be-
Gallahorn, right?
Yeah, you might be blowing the Gallahorn.
Right. Nice.
Yeah, so all the fans will have NFL licensed apparel, hats, sweaters, things like that. But now they're actually doing this with the crowd. If it's hot, they're going to be in short sleeves. If it's cold, they're going to be in long sleeves. They're going to have jackets. They're going to actually, and the cameramen on the side of the field will all be dressed the same way. They're going to have, the highlighter kind of vests on and things like that. You'll notice the cameramen and the press on the sidelines, and they're no longer going to be in shorts during a snow game. They'll actually have pants and a jacket, and things like that. So that's really cool.
The power of next generation, right there.
It is. It really is. And think of what we could do if we just ditched the old generation.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
They're also going with the props. They're also going to be doing. If your team's on a long winning streak, there's going to be more frequency of those props. They're going to say different things, signs and stuff like that. So if the team's doing badly, you're going to see less crowd interaction. If they're doing great, you're going to see more. The crowd's going to be louder. There's going to be more towels swinging around, things like that.
Yes, I love that.
That's the number one thing
so,
I'm looking forward to.
James, what do you think about crowd interactions when you're playing the game? Does that make a difference for you? Do you care that they're trying to bring in that element at all, or?
Yeah. And it's something that I think comes from, in my mind, over from college football. For a while, they had in college football, how they had the chop, kind of crowd interaction, or college chants that were going on. To have something in the NFL stadium would be pretty cool. And also to make the fans not all look the same, which I think they have been working on for the most part, but to elevate that crowd noise. And to something the sideline players, like we were talking about earlier, I don't want it to be player 0-1 standing there, like you said, the shell. I would if I'm on defense, if I'm on defense, I'm the Bills, I want to see LaShawn McCoy standing on the sideline.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
that's the real. We have the real players standing on the sideline. So I'd like to see them work some more stuff in.
Cool.
That would be.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely, and I agree with everything he just said right there. The college, we were talking about that with Ryan as well. The college games nailed it. I mean, you remember when they had that noise meter and you couldn't audible because the noise was too loud, or you tried to check your routes and they're just a question mark, like, you know. That was awesome. And then they had the whole entrance, you know. I'm a big Knowles fan, so, you know, to see Chief Osceola running on the field and planting the spear, that got me hyped up to play a video game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it was really cool how they
Especially
did that.
for a big game, right? Like you'll skip the presentation for a lot of the games, but then all of a sudden when you're playing a rival, once you finally get into the playoffs, then you want to actually sit there and watch that, soak that in, and get hyped up.
Yeah, when the Gators come to town, I want to hear that noise going. That's so yeah. I hope they do more. I mean, it looks like they're doing more with that with the Madden franchise. So I'm really excited about that. You know, specific chants, like James just says, specific chants and fight songs are going to be popping up throughout the league. So there you go. That's your custom stadium feel. Hopefully, it also says they're going to be playing a lot of the same music if they get the rights to it to play in the game. So yeah, the Patriots are going to come out to Crazy Train and things like that. So it's going to be cool.
Cool, man. Awesome.
Yeah, and one last thing is basically the audio. The Madden 16 crew, basically, they've all said this is going to be the best sounding Madden game ever. I expect that. It's the latest. It should sound better than all the other ones. It's not really any shocking news.
Right.
But, you know, I got to say it. One last thing about the commentary. There's this thing they call drive starters, and basically it adds more context and storytelling during the commentary, in between plays, at quarter changes, after drives fall short or you score a touchdown. So the commentators will be talking more about your game and your experience at the time rather than just throwing out basic stats that's pre-programmed from last year. Or you know, hey, this guy's really good at running up the middle, or you know, he's really good after contact. There's going to actually be storytelling.
Yeah, well, especially if he's like doing really bad, right? Like they usually have that canned stuff for whoever, but if all of a sudden you're having a bad game and you're getting 1.5 a carry, they should adjust accordingly. So I think that's something that always takes you out of the game when you hear all of a sudden these random comments that don't make sense to what's actually going on in the field.
And one last thing, and this is just coming from a place of dark, deep-rooted anger. I don't want to say hatred. That's a strong word.
Can you deflate the balls?
You had to go there. Okay. Hey, if we have to, we have to. You know what I mean? Whatever. Please get rid of Phil Simms. Sometime. Yes. I can't take it. I can't even watch him. I can't even watch my Pats on CBS anymore because he just ruins the whole experience. So
you need Pat back. You need Pat Summerall back. Like, I mean, if you don't make a fourth down, he just says, you didn't make it. You know, that's his thing. Simple commentary.
I will literally mute the TV if Phil Simms is as generic as he's been. I can't deal with him. I loved him as a quarterback when he played, but God, I can't take his commentary.
Did you see, are they doing real images like in real full motion video like hockey, or are they still doing animated Phil Simms and Jim Nantz?
I did not read about that, Colin, but I can research that and find out, and I'll let the listeners and / community members know.
Okay, cool. I mean, I thought it was okay. I know it was a little mixed in hockey, but it seems to make more sense now that everything looks so real. Might as well just throw. I would imagine it's cheaper than having to animate them too. So
I hope Madden 16 takes a lot of notes from the NHL 15 franchise as far as the crowd interaction goes, and the celebrations and the commentary, just the transition of the periods and things. That was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And NHL 15 had a lot of flaws, but they did a lot of things right with that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool, man. All right, well, let's dive into some gameplay. So as I was doing the research on the gameplay changes, enhancements, one of the the quotes that popped out is the team talked about this game being the culmination of fan feedback and years of technological enhancements. So they've been listening, they've been tweaking over the years, and we've been getting better machines and more powerful ways to develop games. But now they're also on top of that. It sounds like they're making a concerted effort to listen to the players, what the players want. They're not just reading forums. It looks like they're actually pulling people in and play testing and getting direct feedback from players that love this game. So that's so good to hear that they're doing that now. So one of the things that they're focusing on is they're calling air supremacy. So they're focusing on the passing game both offensively and defensively in this game. I can rattle off a ton of things. Some of the interesting things that I pulled out is so now they have animations where 2 and 3 people are going up for the ball at the same time. They have specific animations for that. So as you're throwing it across the middle, and maybe you're throwing it to a crowd, instead of just kind of letting the physics engine bump people into each other, they've taken the effort to create an animation for that. So I think that'll be pretty interesting. They have a new handoff system, which I don't know if you'll notice it that much, but they're highlighting that. So they're talking about like with fakes and play action and all that sort of thing. So we'll see how that plays out on the field. The QB has some new pocket controls, so this is actually pretty interesting. So as you drop back now, there's a button so you can hit the right trigger if you're playing Xbox, and you'll actually you'll do like one of those shoulder dips and roll. So if you got Cam Newton or a runner or a scrambling quarterback, you can actually use that to your advantage and start rolling out. And then when you start to throw on the run, instead of when you're throwing on the run, typically it's like you're not sure if it's going to be that accurate of a pass. Now, because you use that roll button, now all of a sudden your pass is going to be just as accurate as you were if you were just standing in the pocket. So that's a pretty cool enhancement. I'm sure that'll take players a while to get used to, and hopefully there's not exploits for that. But that could be a nice.
What about with quarterbacks that can't typically throw on the run? Specifically, my quarterback, he's terrible if he moves.
So I didn't see if there's a specific rating for it. I would imagine it takes into consideration like your speed rating and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So I didn't see exactly how that plays out. They do talk about the QB AI. So if you're playing virtual Tom Brady, he's gonna really be a pocket passer, and he's not gonna move much. And like you said, he's not good at throwing on the run. He's not really gonna try to throw it on the run that often because virtual Tom Brady is gonna do what he does best, and he's gonna sit in the pocket and make passes.
Okay.
Whereas virtual Cam Newton, he's gonna probably do a little bit of a scrambling and kind of use some of those other tools that he has. So that's pretty cool. I'm interested to see again how that plays out, and I feel like typically in Madden games, I'm just going against the other team's quarterback. Sure, because it's one of the better quarterbacks, he's making better throws, but it's just that guy on the other side. He's just a 95 rated quarterback. I'm not necessarily going against Tom Brady or a scrambling quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see now that I know that quarterback actually is mirroring his real life self, how I have to adjust now playing defense.
Right, that's cool. Yeah.
So, James, do you typically? I mean, do you look at it the same way when you're playing? Now that we have our Madden franchise going, do you think about the actual personnel on the other side of the field, or do you just think, oh, I'm playing Colin, so I gotta adjust for Colin, not necessarily his specific quarterback?
I've talked to people about that before. I've talked like our buddy Mike about that. And we have tendencies. We play the same people. We know kind of what our goals in a game are too. But I think you have to look at it both ways. You have to look at that player on the other side, but you also have to look at who they have on their team. You're not going to sit back in a zone and watch Cam Newton run all over you or watch RG3 run all over you because they have the speed rating, whether they're good passers in the pocket or not. You know that they can hurt you with the legs. So I think you have to count for both. And I'll hit some of that when I talk about ratings. There's the game within the game when talking about that, how you adjust the style that you play. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll cover that here in a little bit. I just want to cover up on little things. There's a lot of little tweaks they're making, which is great. AI enhancements. They're adding some playbook. And actually, never. Maybe James, you can chime in on this real quick. They're calling them shot plays, and I haven't actually heard that. You know, I've been around football my whole life, played football, all that, but I haven't heard shot plays used. Maybe that's a newer NFL term. Are you familiar with that at all, James, or not?
No, a shot. SHOT plays.
Shot, yeah. So what it is they're saying they're adding shot plays to the playbook, and that's where the tight ends
Like a hot rod or something?
well, kind of. So the ends will stay in instead of going out for routes. They'll stay in and block, and the running backs will block. And so essentially, it'll just be your wide receiver package that goes out for routes or maybe goes deep.
Okay, I've never heard of the term, but it just sounds to me like a max protection play.
Yeah,
Route plays, which really, actually, I mean, you know, they have an adjustment. Remember in the edition in 15, you can do that instead of you can. The words are eluding me, but you can. There's a function of
audible or hot route.
Max. Well, not just hot route. You can do a hot route, but you can also max protect, and that'll take away one of the receivers from going out. The tight end and the running back would not go out, but they'll actually block if you see blitz coming or if you see the defense showing blitz.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the fact that you can automatically pick that free snap is kind of cool if you know a person blitzes a lot.
Well, it'll be interesting because you could probably go into a play and you can call a shot play, and then I would imagine you can then audible. So if you actually, see your linebacker coming on the end, if he's blitzing, then you could probably audible your tight end to a quick out or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yep.
All right. So some of the big changes here are the catching mechanics. So now they've added 3 different ways to catch the ball. So the quarterback, you still have, well, actually they made some changes to throwing it too. So now you double tap to kind of do a touch pass. So they've tweaked that, and you can now throw body relative. So you can throw a high ball, so trying to throw it, kind of above the receiver's head, or you can throw a low ball, trying to keep it away from the defenders. So those are welcome changes. It'll I think
that would be good in the red zone.
Yeah, absolutely. Some red zone stuff.
Calvin Benjamin, just throw it up in the air.
Yep, exactly. You're less at the mercy of just kind of the QB's ratings, and you start to take a little more ownership of what actually happens with the throw. And then on the other side, so the catching mechanics, you can catch 3 different ways. So you have a run after catch. So if you hold down on the Xbox, if you hold down X, instead of going into some funky animation where you come back to the ball or whatnot, the receiver will continue to run down the field and hopefully gain those yak yards that are so valuable across the middle of the field. You have an aggressive catch, and that's kind of more the high risk, but that's where you're going to get your Odell Beckham, crazy over the head catch. And then you have a possession catch, so something where you'll kind of come back to the ball, you'll be a little more sure-handed, but you're not necessarily going to make more yards after the catch. And also the possession catch forces to get your feet down. So if you're on the sidelines or maybe in the back of the end zone, you can kind of use a possession catch to force them to try to get them both in, which I think will be pretty cool.
And it sounds really cool.
All right.
Get your feet down is big time.
So there's a bunch of other tweaks for offense, but why don't we move on to defense? So defense has similar type of things. So the ball hawk is, and I guess I don't remember, was ball hawk in Ben 15? I remember it being the college game. James, you remember?
It's a hold from Madden 25. They didn't call it anything.
Okay.
But they really advertised that Madden 25, that ball hawk, holding down line, to be able to go to the ball.
That's why I'm not remembering it. Before I go on to defense, actually, if I take a step back, so for catching the ball, you don't have to necessarily time it right. You just have to hold it down as soon as the ball's in the air. So instead of just like smashing onto the right button at the right time, it's just when the ball's coming to your receiver, if you just hold X at that time, then they'll go into kind of that run after catch animation.
Do you have to keep it down, or the fact that you've held it for a few seconds will keep that?
They weren't specific on that. I would imagine you hold it down until they make the catch.
Okay.
That's my guess anyway. So similar. So back to the defense. So they have the ball hawk. So kind of the high risk, go after the pick. And then they also have a play the receiver button. So that would be on the X. The X button would be to, instead of go after the ball, you're going to go after the receiver. So if you're beat, then you're just going to go try to make the tackle right away.
Very interesting.
Yep. So so some of the other things they added they've had gang tackles, but they've enhanced gang tackles a little bit.
Hopefully
So
they're improved.
yep, hopefully improved. So there's not as many wonky things happening. They've tried to focus on reducing all the crazy video game stuff that happens where there's two players like inside of each other and phasing and where the tackler when you dive after somebody, they all of a sudden like warp to the actual ball carrier. They've tried to limit a lot of that stuff, so that'll be welcome.
Nice. No super dive? Super dive.
Right, exactly. Although I feel like we keep talking about NFL 2K15 being one of the best games. I remember that 2K franchise had super dives. I don't know if you guys remember that. You could dive from like 5-10 yards away and they would tackle them. All right, so
they did definitely have the Superman.
One more thing I just wanted to cover on the gameplay stuff. So penalties, they've added penalties, which will, I don't know, it'll slow down the game maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think about them focusing on penalties this year? Do you like that?
Well, I mean, there's always a lot less holding in the video games. So I don't know. Whatever makes it more realistic. I don't like the slowing down of the game, but whatever makes it more realistic, I guess. Because there's some that are just really overcome. And holding jumps to mind.
Yeah.
Holding's pretty simple in real life.
As a non online player, the majority of the time, it would probably piss me off just because it would slow down the game and. I don't have control of my lineman doing what he's doing. It would just get annoying. I don't know. I like them. I like there being authentic penalties. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if focusing more on them, maybe like pass interference and things like that might be helpful. But other than that,
so each player will now have a penalty trait. So not that they have a ton of attributes as it is, so they're adding this in. So someone that has I guess I'm not sure how it goes. I would guess if they have a lower penalty rate, then they're going to cause more penalties, perhaps. But so defensive holding is one that they've added, which I think will be interesting. So the way that type of penalty is going to be called is if you're more aggressive with your strategy. So you know how you're always up and pressing on the receivers to try to stop the offense. They're gonna eventually call a penalty on you for being so aggressive. So that actually will be interesting because it'll hopefully balance that out. If people are able to exploit that, then it'll make them back off of that a little bit. So hopefully the penalties that they've added, there's a way to, I guess, they're added as a way to I don't know, nerf certain strategies and kind of make it so it's more balanced, or maybe you actually have to say, well, if I press them here, I might get a holding penalty, so maybe I should step back. So hopefully it adds strategy to the game versus frustration. One of the other things, let's see, that they added, this will be the last thing I touch on, it's kind of interesting, is head tracking. So you'll probably notice this in the game is, so the quarterback is going to drop back and they're actually going to scan the field for open receivers. The players will do a better job looking the ball in when they're catching it. And one of the other things that they mentioned is that if you're on a on a touchdown run, on a breakaway, the running back or whoever's loose will actually look up at the scoreboard and try to look at that, like if there's a defender behind them, like they do in real life. So that'll be kind of cool.
That's really cool.
All right, so that's just kind of a little bit of the gameplay enhancements. Like I said, they're doing a lot to this game. They've also been releasing all the kind of they've gone through it already, but they've been releasing player ratings, team ratings, and whatnot. So James is going to dive into a little bit about that. James, what'd you find out on the ratings front?
Lots and lots, man. I got ratings on ratings on ratings. First off, we know the guy Donnie Moore. He used to do the ratings for Madden in the EA franchise. For the last 5 or 6 years, he is no longer at the helm of being the ratings czar. Somebody new, the person's name eludes me, but it doesn't matter. We're going to criticize the heck out of that person. And,
That's right.
the players are definitely going to criticize that person. There's some funky things here. The usual suspects. I'll start with teams first. Usual suspects who are at the top are there. New England and Seattle, as you would suspect, are the highest rated teams. They're rated 91
Yep.
in the Super Bowl. And I like that they're rated 91, which is down from, I mean, the last 4 years, teams haven't been rated through the roof. And I think that's good because, you know, the teams are a culmination of all the individual players. So you got to account for the crappy rookie that's coming in at a 60, you know,
Right.
and whoever the top player is. Some teams only have maybe one guy that's even rated a 90. So we have to look at that factor. So New England and Seattle are 91s. Denver's an 89. The Packers are a 90. Those are the top teams. Colin, your Vikings are 78. And my Saints are 7. Well, the Vikings are 79 and my Saints are 78. So we're kind of like down, and that's
Yeah.
I haven't been rated that low in a while, so it kind of stinks.
Well, so I always use that as a little bit of barometer for what to expect because they're so good at rating these players, right? So like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be that optimistic about the season.
But as you guys know, with the online system now, those things, the ratings and all that change as over the year's time. You know, as the team does in real life and as a player goes in real life, these updates. So that's what's really cool. So this is just initial stuff. Plus, you know, and I know that the Vikings are a sleeper this year.
Watch out.
They are. Watch out. I'm dead serious on that. As far as the players go, getting into the players, there's 399s. There's 399s, and we were kind of earlier, and it's like, well, how can you be a perfect player? There's no 100. Right. But to be a 99 is to be a top player in the game. Those distinctions belong to three guys. J.J. Watt, I mean, he's been a 99 the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really argue with that one. He's a destroyer of worlds. The former Central Michigan tight end turned D tackle for Wisconsin once he ate and took some vitamin supplements. I mean, he's amazing. Aaron Rodgers, to break down Rodgers is a 99, and everybody's like, well, you know, how can Rodgers improve anymore? And if he's that high, like you said in an earlier conversation, Colin, if Rodgers is a 99, then he can only get worse from there, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Or just make him a 99 again, like what? But, I mean, there's a lot of things that are taken into account to Rodgers, and I'll go on a tangent here about the actual rating process for quarterbacks, because there's an actual rating process here that they do.
Is there like an equation?
Yeah. Oh, yep, absolutely. You know where I'm at. The percentage breakdown for quarterback goes 20% awareness, so your brains are the top thing. Your brains and your throwing power. So you got to have the arm and have to have the brain. So that's 40% right there accounted for. Then you have your accuracy on short passes is 15%. Mid-range is 15%. Your long bomb accuracy is 10%. Play action is 8%. The speed of the quarterback is 5%. The agility, you see that sort of the running is accounted for less. The agility is 3. Throwing on the run, which you guys talked about earlier, and I didn't chime too hard into, but throwing on the run is only worth 3% of the total rating, and acceleration 1%. So you see how that running is really devalued. And Rodgers, you know, being a 99, I can think about. I look at all these things and watching real football. He's pretty up there on all these things. He's an underrated athlete outside the pocket too. He can throw, really throw on the run. And so that's where I'm at with that. And then the third guy, interestingly enough, is Gronk. And I think what they're looking at Gronk for a 99 is just what kind of matchup problems he causes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't know about him being a perfect player, and he's had some injury problems in the past. I would knock him down to 97. He is on film a decent inline blocker, though, which is interesting. So, yeah, 99, yeah, kind of poo-poo. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's interesting that it's smart that so Rodgers' 99 is relative to his position, and they've been doing this for years now, but it's relative to the quarterback position and the attributes for Gronk. Obviously they don't care about throwing power for a tight end, but it's the other attributes that matter. So the 99 is a culmination of everything that it takes to be a really good tight end makes him a 99.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. And I agree with that.
I think the bigger conversation that we've had is kind of on the show we've talked about this past is having 99 players. Like hockey doesn't do 99 players. They always have like their best player like 92 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different philosophy. Is Rodgers? I guess he won't be a better overall player, but he could still some of his attributes could increase. He won't be 100 or 101 or 102. He'll just be a 99 player, which I guess is fine as long as their other attributes can be affected. That's all that at the end of the day. Maybe that's all that matters.
Yeah. I would agree. And then some of the notables. I'm not going to sit down here and reel off all these different guys. Just a couple here and there. So Breeze is a 95, and I say that. Yeah, I'm a Saints fan. Whatever. But Breeze is a 95. And quite frankly, I didn't think he had a 95 season last year. They were only 7-9, and I mean his interceptions were way up. So that was especially a guy that's going to be 36, 37 next season. So that's high. Big Ben had a heck of a season. He was 90. He's 95. Luck's a 94, and I thought that was a little low because I think he has a lot of physical attributes that I listed there that would rate high. 94 is kind of low for him. Marshawn Lynch at running back for the running back headliners, which are important to us all the time. That Lynch is a 96. He's a top running back. And then the guy who hadn't really played in essentially a year and plus, Adrian Peterson is a 95. So
right.
That's very interesting right there. Peyton Manning is a notable that's not in the high 90s conversation anymore. He went from a 98 last year to a 92. That's a huge drop, but I could see that. I can see the wobbly duck. He had some injury. I mean, his arm strength is lacking. He has some great tools and great players around him in Denver, but he's definitely not physically the Peyton Manning of old. I kind of have a bit of a WTF things kind of going here, and really it revolves around Antonio Brown and then like every rookie. Antonio Brown's a 97, which is great. He had a great season last year, but 97 is high.
That's real high.
It's real high for any receiver. And a guy who doesn't have the physical presence of, say, a Calvin Johnson or even a Des Bryant to be a 97 is rated darn. And then every rookie. My question, and I kind of found out some stuff, but not a lot of stuff, is the rookie ratings. How are rookies even rated? Your top 5 rookies in my book. Amari Cooper from Alabama, who's probably the best of the bunch. He's going to be good. Watch out for the Raiders this year. He's an 82. Jameis Winston's an 81, which I was like, okay, really? He's an 81. Mariota's only a 78. Todd Gurley, coming off an ACL, is an 80. And Sir Gordon from Wisconsin's a 78. And so always they're clumped together in that low 80s, upper 70s range, and it's like, how did they come to that? Is it kind of code or something that's put there for them?
Potential meter or something like that.
Yeah.
It's so hard in the NFL because they haven't experienced the NFL yet, and you can do the combine all you want, but it's totally different on that field. And we've seen it how many times when a great college player just can't do it in the pros for whatever reason. So there's like that X factor, and it's how do you predict that? I mean, we all try to predict it when we play fantasy football. There's few people that get it right every year. I'm saying not many people can do that. So yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, and then you're dealing in the NFL with a completely different system in most cases. A lot of these college kids are products of the system that they came up in. And, yeah, they can go out there and have a good pro day and have a good combine, but can they deal with a different system on the field, the speed of the game with these defenses? It's completely different. I mean, It's interesting how they must have some sort of formula for it, or just potential, or what. But it's really hard. How can you judge them? You know, I mean, you'd have to judge them on what the capabilities might be coming from college. So
And
that
what
is.
you think they are and how you think they correlate.
Mhm.
Uh, I think that, well, I'm getting to where I think the answer lies, though. A couple of things is there. You got to look at, I guess you look at the individual ratings, and I'll give a couple of the top people at some of these ratings. And I mean, for a smart game player to actually use some of those ratings, like if you want to use we keep on hitting on Cam Newton, he must be good or something. But Cam Newton's ratings. I mean, if you say, okay, well, his speed comes into play and his agility comes into play. Well, think about awareness, how you use a quarterback to read and go through the reads and click that button of the guy that's open and how fast he gets it there. Well, in awareness, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning are both 99s. All right, if you set apart that attribute from everything else, they're 99s in that. On defense, a guy like Cam Chancellor, he's a safety, he's 6'4", 240, and he can fly. He's your top hitter in the game at a 97 hit power rating. Lynch has a 99 stiff arm. I wouldn't debate that. Right. You wouldn't debate that. And so if you break away some of these pieces, and I guess you apply some of these smaller attributes to some of these rookies where you think they would be, maybe that's factoring into some of the overall. But you got to remember, and I'll say this again, the ratings slide as the year goes by, and certain plays in the season boost guys' ratings. Our cover boy, Odell Beckham, I mean, really? He was a 75 rating, okay, as a rookie when the game first came out, 75. You know what he ended up at? He ended up at a 90. And I think
over the year, holy cow!
it happened all in the one-handed catch play against the.
That's right.
But he had a phenomenal year. He had over 1,000 yards receiving after missing 3 or 4 weeks due to hammy. He had a phenomenal year, but his rating jumped. You know, due to simple math here, his rating jumped 15 spots. I mean, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
One more funky thing, and we'll get off the ratings here, is that everybody looks at speed. The biggest gripe that players have is that, oh my gosh, I'm slow. You're making me slow on Madden. Well, I think there's a new algorithm. I don't know if they've always had this to fast players. The fastest players this year are actually rookies. And the rookies are Bashar Perriman out of UCF, who plays for the Ravens, and Mario Alford, who I saw in a lot of games last year. He's pretty fast, from West Virginia. They're both 97s. And how they're doing speed is now rated based on 40 time. It's based on 40 time and based
40 time. Okay.
Yep. Based on 40 time and based on a speed algorithm based upon age. So now they're taking your age and your 40s and messing with it. So this is going to get funky. This is where you might be in a minus column a little bit on the game. And so I'm going to read out a couple of the 3 scenarios here that are really, really funky. RG3 is faster than Shady McCoy. I don't know. Close, because RG3 is a track guy. Not the worst. There's potential for that. But Shady McCoy is shiftier. But Deshaun Jackson, who's a proven speedster for the Redskins, is slower, actually is the same speed as Ryan Shazier, linebacker for Pittsburgh. And I don't know if that's right. 90. And actually Deshaun, with his age, I think he's 30 now, so his speed went from in 1 year 98 to 92.
1 year? Are you kidding me?
A question.
Well, that's the new guy, too. That's the new ratings guy, I would imagine, right?
Yep, and it got to be. And the most egregious thing before I turn this thing over is that some dude named Blake Annan, who's a tight end for the Bears, probably a third stringer, and he's a tight end now. He's faster than every DB, every defensive back on 11 teams. He's faster than every on 11 teams, including my Saints. It's disgusting. So let's watch the ratings and let's hope as the games are played, they adjust some of these ratings because I know that there'll be legitimate gripes with some of these things.
Oh yeah. Well, if they're truly listening to the community, the community has a lot to say, and they're right a lot of the time. So hopefully they do listen up and make those adjustments. Maybe they got it right. Who knows? I guess we'll find out, right?
And James, these are overall ratings So everything's based on the same. So like when you said the linebacker is faster, Shazier is faster than Jackson.
Yep.
So it's not done by position. Like it's not that Shazier is a 97 for linebackers. It's overall just speed.
Yeah, it's overall speed.
Hmm.
Yep, overall speed, and which is tough. Which I mean, when you line it up, it's like, oh, he might be a freak athlete, but Deshaun Jackson, if you've seen him run, I mean, it's crazy. I don't know. And so I hope that there's some rhyme or reason to that once we start playing the game.
Well, we'll find out pretty soon. So yeah, that was great, James. Thanks for going so in depth with that.
That was a lot of good information there.
Lots of good info. So we've covered off kind of all the surface fun stuff, right? Now let's get into the nitty gritty, the game modes. So we're going to cover off on a couple of different game modes that they have in this year's iteration. The newest iteration is Draft Champions. Phil, what'd you find out about this mode? So
there's a lot of detail in this mode, and I'm not going to fly through it, but I'm going to go through it pretty quickly just for the sake of time. So Draft Champions is a really cool. When I was reading about that, I was getting pretty excited about this mode. Basically, how it starts is you pick from 3 coaches, which helps ensure each draft's going to be different every time. So you can pick a different coach every time if you wanted to. The coaches determined a team's offensive, defensive playbooks, and also 2 different styles, 1 offensive and 1 defensive. So that's where you start.
So this is purely like an online mode, right? So
well, you can do that. That's the thing. There's 2 different types.
Okay.
So if you want if you want a real challenge, you can jump for the head-to-head draft. So basically, that's like your online mode at that point. So you're drafting some players, and then you're going online and playing other players online. And then there is the one where you can just play the AI, and you go through the civil tournaments. But I think what Madden 16 is trying to do here with this new mode is they're trying to add the excitement of fantasy football from the draft perspective, everything beyond the draft, because we all know the draft is the most fun part of fantasy football.
Absolutely,
who am I going to get? Doing the research, doing the mock drafts, that type of thing. So they wanted to capture the excitement of a draft and a fantasy football draft, and then put it into the game. So you can apply your draft and play out with these players again versus another player or in the AI. And there's little tournaments that go on.
I think it makes total sense. I mean, the NFL's really embraced part of their popularity. The reason that they're so popular now is because of fantasy football. So it makes total sense that on top of Ultimate Team, they're embracing that with this new mode.
Yeah, absolutely. I really dug it. I mean, the way they're doing it, I think, is really cool because you can go out there and during this draft, you can pick a couple players and see how your team is going to be different with these new players. You're going to play your team completely differently than you played it the last time. So once you pick your coach, basically you get a base team is generated. They're going to be playable, obviously, but they're going to be very low rated, so you might not do as well unless maybe you have the difficulty turned off. And that's one thing I didn't see, if there's a difficulty option for this. Or is it just feed off the difficulty that you would play? Is the AI going to get tougher? Or?
That's a good point.
Yeah, so I did not read that, but I'll get that information because I actually want to know that. Basically, there's 15 rounds, and each round you're going to have 3 players to choose from. You're going to have to evaluate your team's needs. You may get a set of all 3 really high-rated receivers. Maybe you get 2 receivers and a running back. You got to figure out where you're going to go because you may not see those receivers again come up into the fantasy draft.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you've got, if you've got a couple of choices there, you've got to decide what your team needs, and it's going to affect the outcome. I mean, it's going to affect how you're doing on the field. So I think that's really cool. That keeps it fresh. So each time you're going to have to be evaluating what these guys bring to your team. And that's going to be important with the offensive and defensive players. Do you want a playmaker, or do you have someone that can solidify your D line and get pressure on their quarterback? So I mean, it's going to be pretty cool how that'll work out.
Every team that you draft, you're gonna know what your strengths are based on your players. So you're gonna have to kind of make changes along the way. Like, oh well, I got a choice between Gronk and Rodgers right now. So if I want to go with the strong passing team, then I probably want to have some strong receivers, and then I have to maybe just hope that I get lucky on defense or something like that.
Yeah, you're taking a chance if you don't do it that way. So like I said, there's 15 player rounds, and the limited number of rounds, again, means you have to you're always on the clock, which is cool. So you're not waiting for other people's turns. It's gonna be fast paced, and that's kind of Madden 16's whole thing. Like I was saying earlier, they want to capture the excitement of the draft and then have you put it onto the field, but they want you to do this all in one sitting. So they want you to go through this mini tournament, play 3 or 4 games, go through it, and start over again, maybe the next day or the same night. They basically want your fantasy season to happen in one night. I think that could be pretty cool. It would be fun to see what players do for your team.
Oh
See
yeah,
how it works out on the
that's the
field.
first mode I'm gonna play. I'm gonna dive into Draft Champions right away and see how it goes. I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and again with the solo draft gives players up to 3 games against AI opponents, and with each victory, the quality of the competition will go up. So each time you win, the competition's going to go up. It's going to get harder, but you're going to be drafting players to create your team, and then it's going to go into the championship game in the brand new Draft Champions Stadium. So it's going to be like this whole stadium built around this fantasy, champion.
That'll be cool. Did you see if it has any? Does it play into Ultimate Team? So if James is going to talk about Ultimate Team, segue. Do you earn coins, or I forget what it is in Ultimate Team?
I'll have to check on that because I read through a whole bunch of stuff on this and I did not see that.
Okay.
Let me get back to the community on that and I'll post that information.
No worries. Well, speaking of MUT, James, you are a big Ultimate Team guy. I don't know if you've ever completed a full, if you've gotten to the top ranks of MUT or not, but I know you spend a lot of time there.
Yeah, I've been up and I've fallen. I've been up again.
What's the highest you've been?
I love MUT because it's a way for me to get away from it. And I love it. By the way, first of all, I think I'll dive into the Champions League. It's cool. It's very cool. It sounds really cool. Similar to MUT in a quicker way. I think MUT, for me, gives me the chance to play with teams and players to play with players that I usually won't. Because I think in head-to-head, we're all apt to pick our favorite teams. Like I pick the Saints more often than not. Maybe I'll switch it up, but I like to pick my team. But I want to have access to playing with those players, and MUT kind of gives me that too. And that competitiveness of just being able to build my own team and go to war with that team and see them built from ground up. In MUT, for those who don't know, I'll just quickly run through that. Is you build your own team with your favorite NFL players, and one of the fastest growing modes in the series. I mean, they've done MUT, they've done in hockey, they've done HUT. I mean, so the Ultimate Team thing, people have really latched on to. People actually.
It's replacing. I don't know if it's replacing or not, but it's when we were younger, we collected cards, right? We collected baseball cards and whatnot. So you're able to actually, and I remember playing, and I would actually kind of set them up and in positions, talking about baseball, in their position and whatnot, and kind of make up a little game. But now, the kids now and us now can actually play the game with those cards, which I think is great. I think it's a really cool mode. Say what you want about the monetization that they have going on, but the overall idea of this mode is so cool.
Right, and I think too, it keeps you connected year round. When it's not even football season, why are people still playing Madden like crazy? They're not always playing a head-to-head. They're playing MUT. That's why I'm playing when it's out of season, because you can keep on earning those coins and those rewards year round. And actually, those coins and rewards are updated. Like right now, if you're playing MUT in Madden 15 right now, like I have been, I'm actually earning some rewards. They're actual cards that we don't even know about, loyalty cards that you can apply to Madden 16 and get more coins, players, and stuff like that. All right, going to Madden 16, I'm going to have a leg up on a lot of people in MUT, just saying.
Right.
And so you've got those head-to-head matchups in the season format, and the 10-game season format where you have to qualify for the playoffs. And then you can also gain those coins in doing the solo challenges, which is another way to get players as well. So if you're not playing MUT right now in Madden 15, you definitely should be. The rewards are out there.
What are the changes? Yeah, what are they? Are they doing anything new? Is it more of the same? What are they doing now?
There's a lot that's the same, but there's some modifications. Like before, like, you can definitely do trades, which is really cool. But now instead of just trading one, because some people will try to, like, get one over on people, by trading one card of way lesser value for another. There's multi-card trades now, so you can make, like, like when we're kids. Are you just going to trade just one card for another? No, you're probably throwing, two or three there. There's a percentage. People pay a lot of money for MUT. By the way, I mean, to enhance your teams faster than others, you can put real dollars to it, which I really poo-poo, but a lot of people do it. And actually, a percentage, you can see a percentage of that money come back that you lost. In MUT, you can see it come back in the form of coins for next year. So some people end up with a leg up because they spent more money or spent more time playing, so they'll get coins back for the new edition. And I did last year. You have improved pack odds. How many people are going out there getting their coins and spending them right away on these packs and getting nothing? I used to do that. Frustrating because I spend all the time playing and get nothing. Well, there's improved pack odds on what you get, better value for what you're opening.
That's welcome.
Yeah, for sure.
Very welcome. There's better head-to-head season rewards, and that's in the form of coins and whatnot. You might get more. The loyalty rewards, which I already talked about for playing, being a frequent player, you get more rewards for that. When you put a player up for auction, there's no more tax. You used to have to pay like 100 coins or something like that just to put your guy on an auction block. That's gone and done with. There's some incentive. There's a out there floating around. A couple of these are rumored. There's a 99 overall Odell Beckham Jr. for your MUT team out there. If you're interested, you might find him somewhere. That's going to be hard right off the bat. If you pre-order the game for your MUT, there'll be a 90 rated Odell Beckham Jr. out there. Because he's probably I think he's if I recall right, he's a 93 or 94 to start off with in the game anyway. But you'll get a 90 rated Odell Beckham Jr. if you pre-order Madden. Yep, so that's out there for your MUT team. The collection rewards will have packs again. Before, the collection rewards did not have packs. They just had coins. So now you'll be back to packs again and coins.
Did you do much of the collection stuff? Have you done that previously? I feel like, so personally, I've done just a little bit of the MUT stuff, but I thought that the interface was really kind of messy. Like the auction stuff was kind of gross. It was really clunky. Even in last year's game wasn't that great, and the collection interface didn't seem that great either. Have they made changes there? Or?
It's gotten better. It's got better. But starting with 15, it's gotten better because I think Madden 25 is really awful. But I think it's gotten. I think there'll be some changes to that interface again. And so and they'll make it. I think they'll make it easier and probably advertise a little bit better the collection rewards because I think it's hidden behind. You have to really dig to find out what's there. So I think they're gonna get better with that. And I think if you look at Madden 15. I think they did make some improvements there. So I think that there'll be some improvements as far as the presentation of that. Also, when looking at your team just from the facet of how it can improve, I remember when in hockey, when you put a line with good chemistry together, to go green or yellow or bad line together, there's going to be something like that. You're going to be able to see your team and see the boost in the chemistry increasing as you change your depth chart within MUT, so I think that's going to be advertised for you too. So again, not a ton of new things and new additions here, but just enough to get you, definitely get you interested and get you coming back for more. So
cool, man.
That's MUT for Madden 16.
Very cool. Awesome.
I'm actually going to try it this time because that sounds really cool.
It's fun.
It's a mode if you start at the beginning of the season, you can kind of keep pace. But if you get into it really late, if you get into a mid-season, you're probably going to get smoked. If you get into it really late, maybe people have dropped off. But yeah, it's if you start with everybody else, you have a better chance of having fun with it, I would say.
Yeah, and I think I'd add there's the rewards are updated new. Even as late as the free agency period in the spring, they had the movers and shaker cards. You'd have a card with a guy and it'd show you where he's moving to, what team he's moving to. So it updates, all throughout the year. So that's what I'm saying. Year round you can stay updated with this stuff, and it keeps you closer to football. So
cool.
That's part of it.
All right, well that brings us to the connected franchise. So they brought connected franchise in. I think it was in 13 is when they first introduced that. I mean they've had iterations of your GM mode and whatnot over the years,
Right.
but the connected franchise keeps getting better and better. So the mode itself is where you grab a team, either grab a player, grab a coach, grab an owner, grab a team, and take them to battle. And you can take them to battle for I think it's like 25 or 30 years if you if you got that in you. Um, so it's definitely kind of the biggest. Oh, the other cool thing about connected franchise is that you can do it online too. So you can play solo on your console if you want and just run through and see what happens with your team, or you can pit your or see what your team how well your team does against the computer, or you can run against your friends, real life competition in the online connected franchise. So it's a fun mode. I mean we've been doing these types of mode for the last couple years, and other sports games. Connected franchise has in my opinion, I haven't spent much time in FIFA. In my opinion, it has the best connected franchise. It has the best GM options out there. So, but they're really good now, and they're making a lot of changes. So, a couple of things that they're doing is they're making it a lot cleaner. I mean, you're running your team. You're playing the games, but you're also running your team, and you have to make a lot of decisions, and you're in menus and whatnot. And so they've really focused on how that looks, how easy it is to dive in and make all the changes that you need to make. So right off the bat, they've made it a lot easier. So you just simply choose if you want online or offline. You choose your team, and then you choose whether or not you want to start in the regular season, preseason, or do a fantasy draft, and then you're in. So they make it easier to get in rather than having to go through all the do I want 7-minute quarters, whatnot. You can just dive in, do the defaults, and start playing right away. So that'll be nice for people that just want to get in and start playing. Some of the other changes that they made, they have dynamic drive goals. So it's the other thing about this mode is it's kind of like a little bit of a role-playing thing where you get XP. All your players get XP over time. If you haven't played the mode before, your players will get better over the years. They'll get worse over the years. You can affect how much better they get, how much worse they get, based on how well you do on the field. And you have goals. So Madden will serve up different goals that you need to attain. Get 100 yards with this running back. Throw for 350 yards with this quarterback. Get a couple picks as a defense. That sort of thing. So those sorts of things are brought to the forefront a little bit easier, and they actually have updates during the loading menus now. So instead of just having to kind of know what you need to do, you actually can see it. You get a little preview before, and all these goals are going to be in the game as well, but you'll get updates. So as you're doing things, as you're getting more XP, as you're getting more yards, the game's going to update you rather than having to just know, oh, wait, what was I supposed to do with this guy? Now you get updates during the games, which is really nice. What else do we got here? Back into the XP stuff, you have weekly goals, and they're actually chained together. So they're like quests; they're chained together. So if you have a young rookie running back that's all of a sudden doing really well, you'll get a quest. You'll get a goal for that rookie running back to continue to do better, and he'll continue to improve at a faster rate than if you just kind of left him on the bench and ran with somebody else. So that's cool.
I like that. That's nice.
Yeah. So instead of just being the default goals that you get for your team, the game will recognize, oh, well, this player actually, he's passing more than this team normally would, so let's give him some goals to attain for that passing style that he's taking on.
It gives you a little more incentive to play against the AI of the computer. Gives you it's one more thing to do.
Yep, exactly. So they've done a lot of things like that. They've made a lot of the menus easier to read, easier to see. One of the changes that I was reading about is now all your attributes for your players can be seen on one screen, which is really nice. Instead of having to go to the depth chart and scrolling way to the right, you can actually just pull up you can pull up Drew Brees. see all of his ratings in one place, which will be
Yeah.
nice. You can also, I think, from that same screen, you can put them on the trading block. You can check out their contract, all that sort of thing. So they're really streamlining that. And again, this goes back to them listening to the community, listening to feedback, and they're redesigning a lot of those things. One of the other things they're touched on is scouting. This will be interesting. I really didn't like scouting in last year's game. It just seemed pointless to me. You had not many points, and like everything that you unlocked was worth either not very much or way too much. And the system didn't seem to work. So this year, you have points still, but you can unlock 3 different attributes of each player, like their top attributes. And when you unlock the 3rd attribute, it'll actually unlock their draft status, like where they should be drafted, their draft value.
Oh, okay.
So they've streamlined it, which I think is good, and they've made it so it's actually a little bit more meaningful for you to spend time in it.
Mm-hmm.
The other cool thing is they're adding combine stats. So as your rookies are coming in, as you're looking at these rookies who you want to draft during the season, you can actually look at their combine and see how well they did, and that will affect who you actually want to go and scout. Seems like a simple idea, but it wasn't there last year, so that'll be nice. Let's see, a couple other things here. They're making it easier to interact with your league. Last year, the members list was buried in a menu. Now it's going to be a lot easier to get to if you want to send your this week's opponent a quick message. It's going to be a lot easier to get to that. That will be nice. The commissioner now has a sim to win option, so he can essentially if you have a 10-team league and the 2 guys in your league have a drop game or something weird happens, the commissioner can simulate the game, but he can also decide who's going to win that game. So that'll be helpful for leagues that are really big. One of the other things that I know our buddy Mike is going to like is previously last year's game you have a certain amount of points to spend on pregame activities if you want to work on your confidence for players, if you want to improve some attribute for your kicker or whatever. You have a certain amount of points you can use and go into like a little practice mode. Now they've added a free practice mode, so you don't have to go into those mini games to actually just dive into a practice simulation with your team, and for as long as you want, hours on end, you can just see how they react to certain plays and different things that you want to deploy on the field. So that will be nice. What else do we got? One other thing. So I mentioned the confidence aspect of it. They've tweaked that. That's as I mentioned at the top of the show, I was struggling with the Vikings because they were so beaten down. All my player attributes, the confidence was so low, and the confidence directly affects how good your players are, and essentially how well they play on the field. They've tweaked that quite a bit, so the confidence, a lower confidence won't affect your overall players' rating as much as it did in the past. I believe there's going to be actually a cap. So if you have a really low confidence, all of a sudden it just can't affect your overall player score anymore. So that will be nice. And they've also added some pregame prep. So you can actually, right before a game starts, you can go in and kind of give your team a little pep talk or whatnot, to help give that confidence boost, so that it's not
cool.
It's not as big of a deal. It's not as much of a detraction to how your team's going to play in the field. So yeah, that's a lot. I mean, that's just a few things that I mentioned. They've done a lot to this game, this mode overall. But this game is it's going to be a lot different. It's going to be a lot, from what it sounds like, a lot better.
There's a lot of things to do. A lot of different things to do in this game.
Well, and last year's the 15, it got a good rating for the most part. People really liked the game, and if they're making this many changes on top of a solid foundation that they had last year, look out for this game. I mean, it could be one of the best rated sports games, best rated Madden games for years, but also one of the best rated sports games that we have this year.
Yeah, excited.
Cool.
Thursday
Thursday, that's right. Thursday we get our chance. Cool. Well, we've run long, so appreciate everyone's time and sticking with us through the Madden special. Yeah, we're excited for the game. We can't wait to dive in. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, our community, please do. If you want a chance to kind of join in with the franchise that we have going. Hop in, like I mentioned at the top of the show, facebook.com/groups/boxscore. We're talking football now. We're talking sports all the time, sports video games. Please check us out. Phil, do you have anything you want to touch on before we wrap up?
No, I'm just looking forward to Thursday. We'll get a chance to get our hands on Madden 16, and then next show we'll be able to give you guys our special impressions of the new game modes that we just talked about, and a lot of the presentation and things like that. Thanks, James, for being here. You did a great job, man. There's a lot of good information.
Yeah.
And hopefully maybe we can do some streaming too with our 10 free hours so people can get a little look at it,
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, we should definitely do that. Yeah, James, you got anything you want to mention before we sign off?
No, I said, yeah, definitely streaming. Some of the look of the game, and you had a lot of questions about some of the format. Yeah, that's I'm looking forward to taking a look at it on Thursday and seeing what's there.
Cool. James, where can they find you on Xbox Live? What's your gamer tag?
It's JIMMY81583, and so that's my gamer tag. Kind of lengthy, but that's my gamer tag there.
Yeah, hit him up if you want a game, see him on, friend him, whatnot. He's always up for a game. I'm BrokeBox, 2 words, and Phil just changed his gamer tag to
Chalupa Batman, baby.
If you watch the league, I actually haven't gotten to that episode yet, so it sounds like a great episode, but
it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
So it's Chalupa X Batman.
Yes, it's Chalupa X Batman 0.
All right, cool guys.
No, there's a lot of Chalupa Batmans out there. It was crazy. There was only like a few numbers left. It was nuts.
That's fantastic. Cool guys. All right, well that's all we got. We'll look forward to seeing you on the virtual field here at the end of the week, and the official release is next Tuesday, August 25th. See you for Madden NFL 16.
See you guys. Thanks. Well, that wraps it up for this week's pregame. See you again next week, same time, same venue, and thank you for listening. Hey, sports fans, come be a part of our Boxscore Facebook community at facebook.com/groups/boxscore.